Hi guys, this is Galaxy Tech Overlord here. Come today with my very first deck profile. It's an Infernity Xyz build. About 80 to 95% of people don't know actually how to run Infernities, but they are amazingly simple once you get off the ground with no hand and stuff, because that's when their abilities activate. But yeah, I entered this deck. I've modified this deck since I came second in a tournament with a half synchro build. But this deck is way better because it turns are longer, loops are way better, and overall the special summon rate and rate that you add the right cards to your hand is amazing. Anyway, start off with Armageddon Knight. He gets the dark monsters into your graveyard, no problem. 2 Dark Grapher. He's almost like one of the heart and soul cards of this deck. He takes dark monsters out of your hand into the graveyard, and then puts a dark monster in the graveyard for good measure. So yeah, then the best Infernity card in this deck by far. 3 Infernity Archfiend. You need this card. It is essential for this deck. No ifs or buts. When it's drawn, you can reveal it and special summon it from your hand, and whenever it's special summoned while you have no cards in your hand, you add an Infernity card to your hand. So it just gets all the vital working components into your hand, apart from Zero Max, obviously, because that card doesn't have an Infernity word in it. Infernity Mirage, you only need 1. He's essentially like a second Infernity launcher, and even after he's gone, you can use Infernity Break on him and remove him from play. Right. 3 Infernity Necromancer. The other vital component of this deck, besides Infernity Archfiend, special summoning cards from the great. Special summoning once per turn an Infernity monster except another copy of him from the graveyard, and when you have no cards in your hand, trigger it. That would also trigger the effect of an Infernity Archfiend when you summon it. Right. Stygian Street Patrol. What he does, it's not so much his first effect I'm worried that we like. It's his second effect. When he's in your graveyard, you can remove him from play. Special summon a fiend type monster with less than 2,000 attack from your hand. So that's anything. Any of these Infernity, because nothing in this deck has 2,000 or more attack. Right. And lastly, for the monsters, summon a monk. There's a fair amount of spells in this deck that you probably won't use, so his ability is no problem, and he's got relatively high defense. So yeah, that concludes the monsters. 13 in total. You only need, that's bottom line. People run. I see people run tour guide, and I think, why? Because he's A, expensive, and B, doesn't need to be run in this deck. This deck is consistent enough without it. I know, because I tested it after I made it. Right. And also the consistencies. The consistency of monsters is fine. This deck has a balanced amount of cards in each. They're all double digits, but they're no less than 50. The maximum amount of traps is 15. There's 12 spells and 13 monsters. Right, anyway, on to the spells. Allure of Darkness, Dark Hull, Foolish Burial, Heavy Storm, Infernity Launcher, Monster Reborn, 3 Mystical Space Typhoon, Rotor, and 2 Zero Maxes. Basic stuff. You only need, well, people run Instant Fusion as opposed to Zero Max, and I can't help but wonder why, because Zero Max destroys any face-up monster on the field that has less attack than the monster that you summoned, and you can't conduct your battle phase, whereas Instant Fusion runs the risk of paying a cost in order to special summon a fusion monster, and there's no guarantee that you'll be able to Xyz summon with that monster. Plus all the Xyz that are vital to this deck are rank 4, which means you only need level 4 monsters for. Yeah, we all know why Infernity Launcher is in there. That is the absolute base of the deck. Once you've that I wish they hadn't limited it, but if they ever unlimit it, Infernities are going to jump straight to number 1. Right, traps. Infernity are like the king of traps. They run more traps than any other deck build I know of. Right. 2 bottomless. 2-dimensional prison. 2 fiendish chain. Your monsters are more valuable than your opponents. You don't care what happens to your opponent's monsters, because you just need to stop them, negate their effects. This helps on Stardust Dragon, E-Dragons. It's helpful, and it's too good not to side. Right. And also, once you've stopped your opponent's monsters, you can just womp them with the combos in this deck. Right. 3 Infernity Barrier. Useful card. Best trap in the deck by far. Infernity Break, you can remove any Infernity card from the graveyard, not just monsters. I misplayed that in my final duel against E-Dragons. That ended badly. I lost. That's why I came second. Infernity Inferno, hand control, if you only need 1, bottom line. Mirror Force, Solemn Judgment, and Solemn Warning. Solemn Judgment I prefer over Solemn Warning because there's no fixed cost. You can activate it even if you have less than 1,000 life points. So the bottom line of that is that it's useful. And these both negate card effects, even when Infernity Barrier can't. If for instance you don't have a face up attack position Infernity monster, and you also don't have and you also actually have cards in your hand. Right. Extra deck. I wasn't able to afford all the cards for the extra deck, but roughly what you need: Gemnite Pearl, Lavalval Chains. That's what I don't have. I can't afford it. Right. You need 3 Leviair. Summons back the banished monsters. That's what you need. You might have removed them with Infernity Break. Number 16, Shockmaster. You need 2 of them. I can only afford 1 at the moment. The rest of the extra deck is irrelevant because they tied in with the Synchro build that I had. Really, what you need is Utopia and 3 Diamond Dire Wolf. That is because that's like a scrap dragon to any Xyz monster that you have. So you want Gemini